Weiss and Omnia are creators I've had controversy with in the past. Many people will remember that from our disagreements in the Hopeless Peaches drama, but that situation has mostly disappeared, and as such it won't really be mentioned in this video. However, this video is going to focus on what I believe to be an unfair copyright strike placed by Kai on a video because he did not like the person who made it because they'd been a shitty person to him. Now, whether they'd been a shitty person to him or not, I'm not here to defend that. I don't really think it's my place to decide that for Kai. This video is focused on the fact that Kai falsely struck down their video, violated the YouTube guidelines, and violated a law all at once. Kai has since tried to use the excuse that this was a completely fair strike to make because the video wasn't fair use. So before I even go into Kai's following tweets, I'd like to go straight into the video that he took down. I'd like to highlight many of the points within this video, and I'd like to highlight exactly how much of Kai's content was used and how much of it was completely original in this reaction commentary video. Before I begin, you know the spiel, subscribe to the channel, feel free to check out my Twitter if you'd like to see more opinions just like this one. Don't really care, let's get into the video. For obvious reasons, this video won't include the whole of Akumu's video. I'll link the whole of Akumu's video down below if you'd like to review it for yourself. I do believe that my points will still stay the same, whether you've seen the full video or whether you've seen the points I highlighted from it, but you can watch it if you don't believe me. I decided the best way to figure out how much of this video was Kai's content and how much of it was Akumu's was to color code it and break it down and then combine it all together to see how long it was. That left me with 17 minutes of Kai's footage in this video of 39 minutes total, with 22 minutes of this video being Akumu's footage, meaning that only 43% of this video was Kai's footage, which would make sense considering the fact that Akumu's responding to claims that Kai presented against him. But I'm not the only person who thinks this video would be fair use. I decided to reach out to John Swan and send him the video and ask him to review it to see if he thought it was fair use. He looked over it and said of course that video is fair use, almost no question about it. John then goes over the reasons why, saying that it's transformative in nature, it's a response where he critiques Kai throughout, he cut up the video and responded point to point, he has to include most of the original video in there since that's the nature of a response, and he added 25 minutes of content to the original length, meaning the only possible issue with this video would be audience crossover, which there very obviously isn't any in this situation. John said that in his educated opinion, if this went to court, the judge would rule that it was fair use, and I agree. But just in case you still don't believe me, so I've proved in 3 different ways that this video would have been fair use. I'd also like to provide some clips from Akumu's video that show exactly how he responded to Kai, like this clip.
For the past few months, you have been non-stop keeping up with everything that I've been doing online and finding some way to either start shit with me, spread misinformation about me, or attempt to ruin my platform because reasons, I guess. I'm gonna keep this video as short as possible because this really does not need the views, but this is really beginning to go into unacceptable territory.
Unacceptable! Unacceptable!
So, I pissed off Kai Weiss, or Prince Kai as he's changed it to. A bit of background on how. Call Me Nil and Holy Majesty were in a drama or feud with one another. Nil pretty much ended it by dropping screenshots upon screenshots of the cub porn Holy Majesty had drawn, something he had been in denial for about 5 years. I made a comment on his video pointing out the only reason he's admitting to it is because of Nil's video. That you can't change from something while lying about doing it at the same time. Majesty tries to clap back at my comment on Twitter, framing it as a false narrative. Now, how can it be a false narrative when you first tried to lie to Nil when he brought it to you a day before your video? Kai comments on it. I made fun of both of them. I made fun of Kai specifically for his inconsistent demeanor towards Majesty. Here's why. Because me and Sin both made fun of Kai, and because Sin follows me, that must mean I'm a freak and I'm okay with Sin and his action. The irony being that Kai follows Majesty and both have repeatedly tried to talk shit. Yet if I infer the same thing to him to get a reaction out of him, I'm making a false accusation, as he puts it.
Show proof of him providing counter evidence to Kai, like this clip.
For the past few months, you have been non-stop keeping up with everything that I've been doing online and finding some way to either start shit with me, spread misinformation about me, or attempt to ruin my platform because reasons, I guess. And what's worse is your addiction to conflict, and what's worse than that is your addiction to conflict with me. Like, literally, just get a life, dude. You can deny it all you please, but you're obsessed as fuck.
So let's hear him out. If I have an obsession because I supposedly argue all day on Twitter, despite me being very inactive unless something fun happens or I can make something fun happen, Kai did the exact same fucking shit with Madlibs, Harley, Sin, Skritus, Smart Alec, Steve DeLeve, someone named Jade, and even me. Several times he directly responded to me while having me blocked, after saying that he didn't want to see or talk to me, but I'm the one who's obsessed. Right after each long Twitter argument, he says something like, "I'm gonna take a break," or makes a twit longer telling himself he has thick skin to cope. Or hell, he deletes his Twitter and then makes a community post telling himself that we can't handle him. Took down my Twitter for a little bit to get away from everything. They can't handle my sick racism, race card usage, irony, and sympathy baiting over there, laughing my fucking ass off. But in all seriousness, I'm just gonna be on YouTube for a little and take time to focus on my life and even more on my relationship. Then comes back like what, a day later? So who deleted their Twitter account? Who's gone out of their way to see tweets of someone they themselves blocked?
And show proof of him satirizing Kai, like in this clip.
This loser's immediate impulse with relationship issues, a private relationship with another creator, was to go to Twitter of all places to cry about it. If I have an obsession with him, he has an obsession with Twitter.
All of these are valid reasons to consider a video to be fair use. This was a response after all, and you can respond to something by satirizing it, critiquing it, or reviewing the facts presented within it. This video was undoubtedly fair use, and Kai undoubtedly took this video down with malicious intent. But if you don't believe me on that malicious intent part, let's go over some of Kai's tweets, because I feel like they very clearly represent the point I want to make here. But just quickly before I even touch on the tweets, there is one more thing I'd like to note, and this comes from Akumu, who published a screenshot of a comment that someone had left on Kai's video, telling him that in Akumu's video he said to say hi to Kai. Kai then replies saying, "Did he really? I'll tell him hi in my own way." And according to Akumu, his video was striked a singular minute after this. Now, I don't know about you, but did he really implies Kai wasn't aware of this video, and considering he striked it down a minute after, I'd presume it's not humanly possible to watch all 39 minutes of Akumu's video in that single minute before placing the strike. Again, this completely supports the idea that Kai took down this video with malicious intent in mind, but now let's focus on some of Kai's recent tweets. I don't know why y'all are acting like he didn't have this coming. It's all lols and trolls until his video gets striked, Lamau. Being a general POS and messing with me and Nia for the sake of it ain't so funny when it happens to you. Akumu can re-upload, I'm not lifting it. I'd like to note the fact that Kai says that Akumu could re-upload because he's not lifting it. I feel like that very clearly says to me, and it should say to you, that Kai really didn't care about the copyright behind this, otherwise he wouldn't have said that Akumu could re-upload it. And in a later tweet, Kai also says that he was just fucking with Akumu when he placed this strike, which would imply that Kai was messing with Kumu and trying to troll him. Kai continues in an argument with someone else where they say that they don't agree with his behavior, and as usual with Kai, he says that he's right, this is the right thing to do, the best way to handle it, and he doesn't care at the end of the day whether Akumu is upset or not. Someone else replies saying, "Obviously you do because you flagged him out of a petty grudge, and again I don't like Akumu either, I think he's a smug prick, but this is too much." Kai then replies saying that Akumu can re-upload if he wants, and also that this probably isn't even enough punishment for Akumu. Kai then continues with tweets saying that all this being said and Twitter spats aside, I'm not removing the strike. Seeing Akumu and Co mold about it is definitely entertaining. Kai then says that you got the smoke you ordered. Again, this implies that Kai was aware that this strike was unfair, but it was smoke. He was trying to fight them and compete with them, and he ends this tweet by saying, "I can excuse targeted harassment, but a copyright strike? That's too far." Firstly, he claims that people are excusing targeted harassment, which barely anybody is, and also because he says that's too far as a satirization of people when it comes to a copyright strike, it's very clear that Kai knew this copy strike wasn't fair, because if it was fair, nobody would care. It wouldn't even be close to too far and nobody would have that issue. I replied to Kai saying that that was illegal. The strike he submitted on Akumu's video was illegal. Kai said, "So is harassment, but that's hush hush until someone gets striked." This tweet makes it very obvious that Kai knew what he was doing was illegal. He wouldn't have replied saying, "So is harassment," because so implies that he was aware that they were both illegal. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, Jar.
I like cats.
Thank you, Jar. That's actually all he sent me in regards to this video. I then reply saying, "You missed my point. Responding to a crime with another crime doesn't make you any better." And then Kai says, "Punching someone repeatedly then crying when they punch you in the face is what the point was. Don't act big then fold when someone retaliates." Let's ignore the irony of the fact that Kai says don't act big but then fold when someone retaliates, considering that Kai took down Akumu's video, which responded to the video Kai made first, considering Kai was the one that initially punched and then cried when Akumu punched back. This is also very illegal. Kai was very aware that he was abusing a copyright system to take down Akumu's content. This isn't denying it, he's admitting that he abused that system because he was swinging back at Akumu, and in his own mind, retaliating, I guess. Kai continues saying that he's set on his decision, and if it wasn't this, it would be something else that people had an issue with. You're the one that's created this issue for yourself. I don't know why you're acting like people would have come after you for something else otherwise. Nobody had any issue here until you took down a video responding to the initial claims that you started by making against someone else in a video. You You caused this problem for yourself, and now you're whining on Twitter because people are getting mad at you. I replied saying, I get it, you had a bad interaction with Akumu, but you made a video on him and he responded. That's fair game, and I remember you arguing that you had a right to respond to people in the past. What you did by flagging Akumu is risk your channel being permanently taken down. Kai also says in another tweet that he doesn't want to be the bigger person because Akumu sucks. Again, this wasn't about copyright, this was about a personal bias, and this was about a personal disagreement that Kai abused the copyright system to silence the other person's perspective on. He also says, if you're willing to ride for that guy, be my guest. I'd like to make it very clear that literally nobody in this situation was defending Akumu. I don't like Akumu, I've had personal disagreements with Akumu. But you did falsely strike him, and that is wrong on your behalf. We can say that what you did was wrong while also disliking Akumu. This situation isn't black and white. We don't either have to be on your side or Akumu's side. We can be on the side of no false DMCAs and no harassment. Feel like that's a very simple perspective that most people held in this situation, but because you were in hot water, you had to start crying and pretending that everyone was defending someone that nobody really was. Someone else replies saying, I feel like there's bias here. You didn't strike Jar in you guys' feud. And Kai responds saying, Jar isn't a nuisance, nor does he go out of his way to bother me for no reason. I don't like the guy, but at least he can maintain some respectful distance. And his critiques on me at least don't plaster my entire video in them. Same with literally everyone else but Akumu. While I do give credit here to the copyright argument because he says at least the critiques don't plaster the entire video in them, despite the fact that the DMCA was still illegal and false. First and forefront, when reading this entire tweet, his only real issue is that Akumu is a nuisance and Jar isn't. Not that Jar stole his copyrighted content. It's very clear that that wasn't what Kai cared about here. Kai also continues by quote retweeting Akumu saying, you got a copyright strike, suck it up. I hope anyone else you've given a hard time to does the same. In this tweet, Kai is literally advocating for false flagging, saying he hopes that everyone else he's given a hard time to does the same. Giving someone a hard time doesn't mean that they should get a copyright strike. File a harassment report, bro. Don't violate the law and abuse a broken system because you were butthurt by what someone had to say in a video against you. The reason you should report a video with harassment is so that YouTube themselves can give an unbiased review of the video to decide whether it was harassment. Kai also released a tweet saying, Akumu fucks with me and it's entertainment, but the moment I fuck with him, I'm reprimanded. You literally can't make this up. I would have as much issue with Akumu striking you as I have issue with you striking Akumu. Note here that Kai also says that he was fucking with Akumu because Akumu was fucking with him, not that Kai was taking down copyrighted content. Kai quote retweets one of my tweets saying that I don't give a shit if Akumu's video was good, I give a shit about the fact that Kai broke the law and took it down, and Kai quote retweets me saying, Lamau, and I rest my case. I replied saying, what case did you rest? And then I told him I'll be reaching out to people at YouTube because he DMCA striked someone falsely, which he did, and I will be reaching out to people at YouTube because you shouldn't be allowed to silence a smaller creator when they respond to claims you've made against them because you don't like what they have to say in that video. Whether you like what they have to say in the video or not, if they're responding to you and presenting their own side, they're allowed to say it. Kai, if you were to respond to this video, I would allow you to. I'm not going to strike down your video because you respond to me. So if you do release a response now, should I just strike it, Kai? Because I don't like you? Is that how it's supposed to work on YouTube? Fuck no. Grow a pair. And then Kai tries to play that this video wasn't fair use card, saying that people don't even know if it was fair use, to which I reply saying I literally have a copy of the video, which I do. Later, Kai attempts to question whether I even had access to the video because apparently he thought that I couldn't download a video on Google Drive when it said processing, so I couldn't play it in Google Drive. I think he's just really dumb and doesn't know how Google Drive works, but that's completely irrelevant to the point, and I'm not going to waste my time on that. If you'd like to read all of Kai's tweets, of course you can, if he hasn't deleted his Twitter again by the time this video is made. I'm sure Kai will probably release some excuse response on Twitter trying to justify everything he's done, but at the end of the day, it's very obvious to anyone that pays any attention, and you can watch the video yourself, this strike was not fair use. Kai knew that, and his only motive behind striking Akumu was because he wanted to get an own back on Akumu, and when he realized he was in the wrong, he decided making excuses was the best option to get out of it. Don't lie to your audience, Kai. It's devastating to see you betray every bit of trust that people in your fanbase had for you. But what do I know? I was just mad at Kai for copyright striking someone because I had microaggressions in it. Like seriously, where the fuck did this become about race?
Shut the fuck up talking to me. Says she wanna rock with it like me. I'm a stylish guy. Spend a little guap with it like me. We can catch a fly. Says she wanna rock with it like me.